Alright then. Okay, so um um buonasera. Um just anyway, so there's a different video called just waiting for a cab. There's a different video called Scientology and X, and on it it talks about presumably, I can't actually remember what the video says, but it probably talks about Scientology, how it's got some what's got operating thetan levels. There's about 9 of them or something like that, and they commonly deal with different dead alien souls or something like that in such a manner that for some people it looks a bit like what the Kabbalists seem to be talking about with their trio of death stuff. So it might be the case that the Scientologists were interacting with some kind of numerological imaginary constructs, as it were, where when they lose their personal reactive mind and go into a collective space, it might be a space that they call the tree of death, where they start dealing with minds or fragments of minds that are not their own, or bilocation mirrors or whatever, and that's associated with the tree of death, and so on and so forth. Because and ideas like that. So they might be or it might be the case that they've got 9 or 10 OTs, that each one refers to a sphere or sephiroth. Okay, so they might be equivalent to a sephiroth in how they're behaving. If that's the case, it's possible, according to that video, that some of the ideas that Scientologists had when they interacted with those minds, or those dead aliens, if they actually were dead aliens, whatever, could have had some kind of ideological consequence through mirroring effects or something like that. If that's actually a true thing, honest to goodness, hope it's not, but it might be. So here it is. We're in a weird situation as a world, and this vantage point, not just others. Okay, so if that's the case, then some of the beliefs that L. Ron Hubbard was propagating, such as Jesus was people walking past. PEDO. Okay, would have had a very unhelpful mimetic situation potentially for the Christian community if they were exerting more influence there than not. And so the suspicion was that because L. Ron Hubbard said that in the 1950s or the 1960s, and that's been going on for some time, that it is possible that there was potentially some basically roughly equivalent of cursing Christian people with the mimetics of the consequences of that, which may involve aphorisms as well coming into effect as potential mental images or constructs that those people could have experienced or be projected at them, which is actually a form of darbo and actually slander and smear. So to put that into context, it is actually the case that between the Royal Commissions in Australia and the National Inquiries in the USA and other countries typically cover between the years of about 1960 through to the date of the Inquiry or Commission, but also included events before that, going as far back as the 1930s, due to the age of the witnesses. Okay, and so it's not fair to say that Scientology caused those priests to fall from grace, as it were. They did that because of their own crap. It's also not fair to say that all priests are like that, because they found that 95% of priests are not like that. So there's that too. the consequence of that would be to say that the basic if there were a consequence or something like that, then Scientology would be guilty of attempting to curse victims of crime. Because, as it turns out, every last person who reported to the Royal Commissions and National Inquiries, as far as the Catholic Church was concerned, or Christianity or Christian organisations were concerned, those were people who were victimised in a religious setting by a religious institution, or an employee of a religious institution, such as a priest or clergy member, and or others from the institution had failed to report to the police or whatever it might have been that they did wrong. And so the consequence of that is that for people then turn around and to blame the Christian laity for what the hierarchy did is grotesquely unfair under any standards, but under the standards of what L. Ron Hubbard and his group was practicing, it could have had deleterious consequences for those people. And as a consequence, it's not just the Vatican that own or the Christian hierarchies that owe the laity or the former laity an apology. It's also Scientology. And there's that, okay? And on that note, it also shows that Pope Benedict the 15th was wrong. It is said that he published some 1,000-page documents while he was still the Pope, saying that he thought that the priests had been confused by, this is what the report in the article said, that apparently Pope Benedict was confused and thought that the priests had been confused by the hippie countercultural movement of the 1960s, which obviously is grotesquely unfair and untrue, as it turns out. However, there was a social movement that emerged at that time that was engaging in practices that heap true, such as the activities of Sephiroths, in the case of Scientology being represented by the OT levels. If that were a true thing that could actually influence human behaviour, then the priests who did those things, or the clergy or whatever who did those things, are responsible for their crimes, not the victims. And Scientology is guilty of victim blaming. And also, in that case, Pope Benedict XV would still be guilty of deflection of responsibility. Have a nice day.